Hello, everyone. Thank you for clicking on the link. This little short 3 to 5 minute video, I hope to provide something similar to this every week to just kind of introduce the lesson and give you a few things to think about as you're formulating exactly how you're going to teach it. So this coming up week, what an amazing passage. I just love this passage so much from the book of Philippians. Man, to live is Christ, to die is gain. I mean, there's so much there, so much that we can learn and take from and challenge the folks in our life groups. So let me just cover a few things about this to get you thinking, just maybe a few pointers, maybe a few observations, whatever it is. Maybe if you want to take it, great. If not, whatever. But I think it might be helpful for you. First of all, our passage begins, and here's Paul talking about, he has this eager expectation. Isn't that awesome? There's this expectation that, and with full courage, now, as always, that Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. He had that confidence, that assurance, that eager expectation that he was going to be used by God in his body, whether it's by life or by death. And so I just, was thinking he had this laser-like focus. He was absolutely confident and sure of what he was doing, and he was so confident that he had this eager expectation that if anyone were to ask God, is Paul honoring you? That God would say, yes, absolutely. Paul is honoring me in his life. He knew that. So, a point of application for the folks in your life group, okay? Are your folks living with a laser-like focus? Are they zeroed in on what God wants them to do in their life? A laser is something that's very narrow and straight. It does not deviate one way or the other. It goes straight for its intended target. And that's the way our people need to be, is to have that laser-like focus. But then he goes into our next verse, which is, of course, the famous one. For me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. For Paul, to die being gain, it was like he had talked about Christ his whole life. He had an encounter with Christ that was life-changing. He led people to Christ. He talked about Christ. His life was all about Christ. And so he knew that the only thing that kept him from Christ was living. And so there was an expectation of saying, yes, finally I get to be with Christ. I've talked about him. I've lived for him. I've been all about Jesus. And finally now, once and for all, I'm going to be with him. So do your people have that? Do they know Christ so much and love him so much that they just eagerly wait for that time and that day when they get to be with Christ? Or are they focused on other things, on work, on family, on hobbies, or whatever, that actually going to be with Christ is not something that they're particularly excited about? It's just the next phase of whatever's going to happen next. I hope not, because to die is gain. We want to lead our people to love Jesus so much that they say, yes, graduate me. Bring me to that next place where I get to be with Christ finally. But for now, to live is Christ. To live is Christ. And of course, that means, what does that mean? It means fruitful labor, right? Living for Christ means fruitful labor. So if you were to ask your people in your life group, where's the fruit in your life? Is your labor producing fruit? Can you point to it? If we were to go around the room right now, would you be able to point to some tangible fruit in your life that has come from living for Christ? I hope that our folks are living so that they might produce fruit for Christ. So the application, again, is simple. Do what God gives you to do today. Now's the time to do it. To live as Christ. Let's get after it. Let's do this. Tomorrow, we trust God with tomorrow. Tomorrow is gain. when we trust that and we're not going to worry about it, we eagerly wait for it, but it'll come. And when that day comes, it will be a great gain to us. And so we are excited about that. But for the meantime, to live as Christ, and so that means fruitful labor. So, are your people producing fruit? Is there fruit in their life? I encourage you to challenge your people. Ask them these questions to contemplate. Give them a little bit of something to chew on, and help them move more towards Christ until that day when we get to be with Him. Thank you all for being willing to listen to me for these 5+ minutes, and I hope it was worthwhile. I encourage you to give me feedback if you want to. Anyhow, God bless you. I'm praying for you. It's going to be an awesome weekend.